So this is more effect.
Because the vape
buildings hold memories and
Widows, boss ghouls, how are you all doing today? I'm looking at My Haunted Hotel. And not all's well, but My Haunted Hotel. So recently I covered the split between certain people that have worked there and no longer work there and their projects. And I said some things that I regret saying. And I regret the video as a whole because I used it to annoy one party and then sort of boost the other party. But what I did say is I'm going to watch one project and not the other. I haven't done that. I've actually watched Danny Moss's first Haunted or Not episode and he debunked absolutely everything, which surprised me. But I've just watched the second episode from My Haunted Hotel and there are things... I'm not saying it's fake. I'm not saying there's outright fakery going on, like they're creating knocks and things, because without seeing it, I can't say it. But there are things that they're seeing are unexplained or could be paranormal that I think are easily explained. But there's a big one, and the big one comes in at room 2 at 25 minutes and 35 seconds. Now, I have a friend that's actually working for the hotel now. I started my Twitch journey many moons ago with this guy. I know him quite well, so it'll be interesting to see what the response to this is. But, you know, this is a claim here. We capture a voice in room 2. There are two ladies on the bed, and they're discussing the stone tape theory. Not a theory, by the way. But it is what it is. Can buildings hold on to something? Can brickwork absorb playback? I don't know. I don't think so. But atmosphere. If you walk into a room after people have had a blazing row, even hours later, you can walk in and be like, ugh, they ain't getting along in here. It's just something hangs in the air. And I do wonder if residual style hauntings could be linked to that. Just my personal thoughts. Not to just absolutely cack on everything. But I'm going to bring your attention to... this lady's discussing stone tape. This lady closest to the camera is just sort of listening to the theory. And a viewer rings in or posts in and says there was a voice. And I know what that voice is. And I do wonder how this was missed.
At any time with no obvious cause. Little did any of us know, moments later, we will witness an incredible moment potentially supporting this very theory.
So obviously that is Dan Caravan, and he says this is potentially, and then explains why it could be linked to the stone tape theory, and I'm afraid that I'm going to tell you why this is not linked to the stone tape theory. It's linked to this. Vaping.
it's like fishing. You've got to have patience to go fishing.
You do.
And I feel it's the same with ghost hunting and paranormal investigation. You've got to have patience. You can't just expect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if it's like the building is residual, so it's like it's called the more effect. It's basically buildings hold memories and replays.
Did you see it? When it's built into the buildings. Right. I'll blow it up for you because I don't think this has been done on purpose. I don't think anyone's trying to pull the wool. But the lady closest to the camera there has taken a hit off a vape while laying on the bed. The other lady is talking.
It's basically buildings hold.
There's the vape. Inhale.
And
her mouth as she turns her head. She has exhaled the vape as she's turned her head. This camera has picked up the right. So it's an exhale while she's saying the word right, agreeing with the conversation. I'll play it again. Again, this is me being mean. This is me looking. Because if you're going to put this out and potentially link it to a theory that is not a theory, make sure nobody's exhaling at the same time, and certainly make sure that nobody has just hit a vape.
So this is more effect.
Because the vape
buildings hold memories and replay.
Her mouth actually moves as she turns her head, or just before she turns her head, her mouth starts to move as the voice that is picked up by the room comes out. That is not paranormal. That is somebody exhaling after vaping. Is that fakery? No. Should whoever reviewed the footage have been aware of what was going on there? Absolutely. So there's a noise earlier on, and they all say it's a cat sound. To me, it sounds like a door squeak, but that's just arguing a point for the sake of it. You know, could it have been a cat? Potentially, there's a cat outside somewhere. The windows are very thin and noise does bleed in from the outside. There's also reported sounds of like goats and whatever. But then I want to come to this section. The next section is 13 minutes and 6 seconds. Yeah, my timing is all over the place because I've watched it and then I've gone back. Two ladies walk up the stairs, round the corridor, heading to pretty much where my camera is. I'll change my camera just so you can see the ladies. The ladies haven't made this noise, but I don't think it's a ghost either, and I'll show you why. That door squeak is kind of similar to the cat sound from earlier, but I'm not focusing on that. I can't tell what it is. I wouldn't have put it out there as a cat, though. Did you hear it? They certainly did. There was a man's voice.
You're joking? No, I'm going.
You're joking? I'm going. But what's that there? That looks to me to be the shadow of a man coming up the stairs. We'll play it again. This is the footage again.
Did you hear my voice? Oh my God! What?
Now, this is really interesting. The ladies are heading towards room 6 and radio us with a report of a potential male voice, right?
And when they review this footage again, they don't look at what comes after. The cut, I'm not saying the cut is there to stop the man coming into shot, because he looks like he walks back away from there. I don't know who that man is. But those two ladies walk across the corridor, knock on a door. As they step back, there is a man's voice. And for me, it comes this side, which would be the side where the stairs are. The sound carries in this place. I mean, it's a reverb heaven because of the walls and the wood. But a man comes up the stairs, and then when they say what, he actually pulls back. Has he pulled back because he knows he's said something, or is he pulled back because they've freaked out and he doesn't want to contaminate? Or I don't know. I can't surmise, and I can't say it was 100% him without seeing his face. But what I can say is it should have been brought up that when they heard a man's voice, there was a man on the staircase coming up to the upstairs of the building. That should have been called out. Now, I'm not picking and I'm not having a go. Is there a debunk in there? Absolutely, there is a debunk that woman vaped, turned over, and her mouth exhaled as she turned. That is where that voice came from. Is the guy coming up the stairs a debunk? No, it's potentially the cause. Can't say without seeing the guy's face and his lips move, but common sense would then denote that while those two ladies are knocking on the door and there's a male coming up the stairs, he may have said something. Now, throughout the rest of the episode, there are REM pod activations, and the hotel say it themselves. There's, REM pods are a nightmare because of the radios there. And when I went there, I had the exact same thing, to the point where I turned the REM pod off, put it in the bag, because it was going off all the time. Now, they say, no REM pod has gone off while they were there. However, REM pods are such finicky devices. Recently, last year, I was at Warmley Clock Tower. I was 2 stories up above Kev Kerr Paranormal while he was doing a demonstration about flaws in ghost-hunted devices. And I could hear him through the floors. And when he said about REM pods, I clicked my car keys. And then I heard the entire room underneath me, 2 floors down, go, "Oh, wow." Because as he said REM pod, I pressed my keys. I keyed my car. I locked and unlocked it. And then I did it again when he said REM pod. And on the third time, Kev Curtis shouted up, Beardo, is that you? I said, yeah, it's my car keys. And Kev, who's very experienced, like, I had no idea car keys could set them off. And we did a bit of experiment. It seems that Ford car keys at a distance don't set them off. Nissan car keys, for some reason, at quite a distance, do set them off. I wasn't aiming it through the floor or anything. I was aiming it at my car. It set REM pods off. In a building like this, in a city where radio interference is going to be so high with, you know, emergency services and things and council workers, what have you, I would completely remove REM pods from this building because you're just going to get cross-contamination. In fact, the first time I ever learned about REM pods properly was at this location where I'm getting responses on command, and I'm getting responses on command, and then the control shouts up, it was Danny. Yeah, that's the radio from room 5. It's bleeding through. And we tested it, and that's exactly what it was. I think that was one of the last times I ever used my REM pod. Or it was the last time I used my REM pod for something paranormal. I've used it since. When I did abandons, I used to leave it in the doorway. So if somebody came in, it'd trigger, and I'd know somebody was on their way in. For people, not for ghosts. The back to the doll falling. For a long time, that doll got ignored. And now the doll falling gets a bass drop. That doll is very unsteady. Why it falls over time, I don't know. But it's like the pram at 30 East Drive. For ages, I was like, it's paranormal, it's paranormal, it's paranormal. And then it's like, right, in the last year, about 30 teams have been in there, and it's fallen for 15 of them. There's got to be something natural causing it. So, spirit levels. You take a spirit level, you check the shelf. I went to my haunted hotel, and I dismissed the doll immediately. I put it there, and you've got to really work to get that thing to stand and balance. And I'm like, right, you can kind of dismiss that. It doesn't matter if you were moving in the room or not. Anything could set that off. Gravity over time could just pull that thing over. The same as the pram. I wish I'd taken a spirit level, now that I know to use them properly. Use a spirit level, check the shelf. I would also be inclined now to take a Seismo device there. Put one on the floor under the shelf and put one on the actual shelf itself. Wait for traffic to go past. See if the traffic are causing a vibration on the shelf or the floor. Again, I'm not picking a hole here. This is an idea that the hotel can take forward to further legitimise what they're doing there. I'm not being rude, but whoever is reviewing the footage there needs to review a bit harder. They need to look a bit deeper. They need to zoom in on things. And you need to understand that if you hear a ghostly breath not long after somebody's hit their vape, you kind of got to write it off because they've got to exhale at some point. There's Estes sessions. I don't believe in Estes sessions whatsoever. I think they're a waste of time. But that's what I think. If somebody asks me why, I'll tell them you as well just do a spirit box session because it's the exact same thing other than somebody can't see or hear anything. Why would you take away 2 of your senses when you're investigating? I wouldn't do it. I've done it. I've done it recently. And all I heard was radio garble. It was a pointless exercise for me. I've done it in a number of locations. And when I went to the Ancient Ram Inn, we are underground. And there's no radio signal. I got nothing but static, which says everything about those devices. And it says everything about why this method is flawed. Again, not taking shots. That's just my thoughts on it.
And I was like saying, I was being all like that. I
Yeah.
was being like, oh, it must be awful. Like, it's just like they're stuck in time. And then there was, why?
But it's how close it sounds to the camera.
Because that is away from us.
Yes. I just need you to go and check to see if you can hear it.
Guys,
If you,
this room three, Amelia, we just played that back, and that is absolutely wild.
Yes!
My goodness.
Yeah!
So, played a bit of a section there. They confirmed to the guest that they've captured in this one of the greatest captures they've had of the week. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. It is that young lady exhaling her vape. And obviously the team have reviewed this on the night and then said, yeah. I'm not saying it's fakery, it's shenanigans, it's bullshit. What I'm saying is somebody hasn't reviewed properly, and they should have. Especially before you tell the guests they've had an experience that they haven't had. There are going to be people that are far more harsh than I am about this that are going to say, there's no way they didn't see her vape. There's no way they didn't see her exhale. I'm going to give a bit of leeway and say that somebody just needs to look harder at what they're reviewing here, as opposed to saying it's outright fakery. But if this is a pattern that continues, then it becomes worrying that nobody looked at the fact that a man went up the stairs, and I think there's a camera on those stairs that would have potentially caught him. I know it looks down towards the bottom doors and the lower bar, or the middle floor bar. I don't think if he was on the next set of stairs to go up to the rooms, if it would have captured him. But the audio would have been louder out there. I don't know why that wasn't reviewed. If this is a pattern that continues, that everything is being called out as a potential paranormal event, that's worrying, really worrying. And it's not where I want to see the project go. More so now that my mate Shorty is actually working there and he's doing the socials and running the lives and stuff. Now, in Shorty's defense, Shorty is not a paranormal investigator. He's got an interest in the paranormal, but to the best of my knowledge, he's not an investigator. But he is a bit of a tech wizard. I mean, my initial twitch, anytime I had problems, Shorty, how the hell do I fix this? Things with sound and bitrate and things was all Shorty's advice very early days for me. So it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses. It's going to be more interesting to see how the hotel react to what I've said. If they come up with Hellfire and Brimstone, then nothing has changed. If they look at the skeptical community, the debunking community, and go, yeah, she was vaping, she has rolled over and exhaled, and they address it, there's no issue. If they say, yeah, there was a man coming up this, we can actually rewind that back and see if it was louder on that it was louder on that camera, probably him. I'd like to see that. At the same point, they may completely ignore it. They may not clap back. They may not address it because they want the guests to have this experience and maybe hope that they don't see my channel, which would then fall into the realm of, are you faking? Because to not admit something or to not further investigate something or acknowledge something, that would be hiding the truth of the matter, especially when it comes to that voice with the vape. That is 100% a debunk. And to not address that would be to hide that. And to hide that is faking. In my book, and my book alone, I imagine the other debunkers would agree with me on that. I know this is a bit rich coming from me, being, a vapor myself, but you were far too young for vaping. Don't do it. You end up coughing and rattling like I do. Learning from Beardo. But it's not all doom and gloom. For example, there's a section a little later on. There are ladies calling for a REM pod to go off, and it does go off.
Fall over.
I don't know, but it's just gone off.
Are you sat on the chair, Heidi?
And at this point, I was like, please don't say that that's paranormal, because there was a thump, and then it fell, and that's what's caused it to go off.
It's a tricky one, this one, isn't it?
It
No.
is.
Because the cool thing about it, she asked for the REM pod to go off.
Yeah.
The downside being it's on carpet.
Yes.
And there was a thump. At least they've addressed it. They've addressed it's on carpet, it's unsteady, it can just fall over.
So the slightest little vibration could cause that REM pod to move.
And there was a
Or
bang.
fall over.
It's a tough call, that, isn't it? I've noticed this room has produced numerous times these REM pods falling over. Now, is it the carpet or is there more to it? It's tough to say, isn't it?
No. But what would I know? It's carpet, there was a thump. That room, I can't get my bearings. Now, I've been in the control room, I've been in all of the rooms, I know how to get to the rooms, but I can't remember the numbers. And that room with the pentagram on the floor, I don't know where it is in relation to other areas of the bar. Did somebody close the door? Something along those lines that's caused that REM pod to fall over. So I can only guess, but yeah, there's a bang, or a knock, a vibration, and then it falls over and triggers. But at least they've called that out for what it is.
What do you guys think?
Having checked the other surrounding cameras, it does appear to be isolated to within the room. It's fair to say it's not one of the clearest pieces of audio we have, but we would love to hear your thoughts.
Pick up, I can't see something like that.
Do not pick scalp. Oh, someone sneeze.
So they've said there in the build-up to this piece of evidence about a sneeze. I can't tell what that noise is. But they say it's come from within the room. I don't think so. It was so muffled. Though they said they checked the cameras and it seems to be confined to here, so who's to say somebody outside hasn't sneezed?
Oh,
Oh, it is a
someone
sneeze.
sneezed.
It's a woman sneezing by the sound of it. I have been in that cellar. There is no such thing as unexplained movement. You can hear all of that noise. It's constantly vibrating down there. I would not say anything down there was unexplained without the power being turned off. Obviously, you've got gas, you've got pipes, you've got these... This is obviously running the beer and the air to the bar upstairs. Nothing down here could really be... if a pint glass shot off there, even then I would be like, hang on. There's a lot of noise and vibration down there. And yeah, that brings me to the end of it. Outright fakery? No. Unless it keeps happening and logic is ignored. It will be interesting to see their reaction to what I've said. It'll be interesting to see if they react at all. And it'll be interesting to see if they change and look a bit harder. Because by all means, if the guys at the hotel have got something and they're like, I'm not sure what that is, send it to me. We'll happily take a look. Because then what's happening is you're being transparent. They don't have to take me up. It's just an offer that if they've got something and they don't want to put something out and have egg on their face, then I'll happily take a look for them. They don't have to say Beardo has debunked this for us. They can claim it for their own for all I care, as long as it's honest. So, episode 2, My Haunted Hotel, that's my thoughts. I think most things in there need to be looked at harder before anyone claims them to be something otherworldly. They definitely need to zoom in on things before they put it out and then tell guests that it was one of the greatest captures of the week. I'm not party pooping and I'm not being a dickhead. I want haunted locations to be transparent. I want haunted locations when they're releasing footage to look harder, and then I don't have to. But I'll do it. If you've got a haunted location or something, send it. Don't send me orbs. I ignore orbs. Don't send me REM pod activations and EMF activations. I don't care about them. They've broken devices. But if you think you've got voice captured and you know it's on camera, if you think you've got something that you cannot explain, by all means send it to me. I'll probably never say it's a ghost, but I may say, hey, that's really interesting because I don't know what caused that. And that to me is where the interesting part of the paranormal comes in. But when I can say things like, there was a guy coming up the stairs, potentially him, that was 100% her, hitting a vape and then exhaling, takes the magic out of it for me. Do please let me know your thoughts on the comment section down below. There's no need to be arsey at this point. This is just me potentially helping the hotel out with some pointers in the right direction. So if anyone does get arsey, then you're being a dick for the sake of being a dick. Much love to you all. Beardo out.